A 4-rounder over Kid Stewart awarded on points. 12 years later in Hamilton, Ontario, the Westville lightweight lost his last bout by knockout to Ed Beatty in the 3rd round. In between, he built a... Sorry about that, Jackie. In between, he built a reputation as a tough, courageous, persistent scrapper who refused to give an inch, a man who bled easily from around the eyes, which often affected his game plan, but who always battled on. His pro record shows 35 wins with 11 knockouts and 7 draws in 56 bouts. That's only 14 losses, with 4 of those coming against Halifax lightweight and Nova Scotia Sport Hall of Fame member Richard Kid Howard. Yeah. So Jackie wanted what Howard owned, the Canadian Lightweight Boxing Championship. 3 times they fought for it, and 3 times Howard was the victor. But in each of those fights, 2 in Halifax and 1 in Stellarton, Jackie made it known that Howard had met a valiant opponent. In the last bout, June 2nd, 1959, Howard won by an 8th-round knockout. The champ was notorious for being at his best when his title was on the line, and he didn't surprise anyone in the crowd of 5,500 at the Halifax Forum. Veteran trainer Tom McCluskey, who at times worked the corners of both Hayden and Howard, recalls Hayden's ability.
That was the only step between Jackie and anybody else. If he had got thrown by Dickie, he could have been champion of Canada. And he was a very smooth fighter. Jackie Hayden was one of the best. If you like boxing, he'd be the guy to go to see, because he was another Perry Como in his own way, right? He's smooth and so slick and very smooth. Knew his way around, knew his business, knew what he was doing. Not an overpowering fighter, but a guy that could outpoint you. And he did everything right in the ring. And he was one of the finest people that I had any business with in the fight game or out of the fight game, as far as a gentleman goes, in the ring and out of the ring. He's 100%.
Now, the 2 fighters struggled through 7 rounds. In the 8th, Howard aimed a left at Hayden's jaw, and that ended it. As Ace Foley said in the next day's Chronicle Herald, the knockout blow was thrown with everything Howard could command. Howard put so much into the punch that he fell on top of Hayden, but quickly regained his feet while Hayden lay on the deck for the count. The earlier fights probably had more action, but the drama of all 3 was equal. Even 2 non-title bouts, which the pair split, were wild events. In a newspaper column, writer Hugh Townsend called this from Hayden on the first match, a non-title fight between the 2, which Howard won in a decision surprisingly unpopular in Halifax, which was the champ's hometown. This is what Hayden said. "I was working pretty good at the time, so it made good sense to go for Dick's title. It was a good money fight. I never put myself in Dick's league, but money, or lack of it, makes a person do strange things. The fight made me realize I wasn't all that bad after all." He lost a close decision, but earned a crack at the title. And just over a month later, they met again in Halifax. Howard was much better prepared, and he always was for a championship fight. After Hayden held the early edge, Howard took over, and in the 7th knocked out the challenger. Hayden, owner of the Maritime Lightweight Championship through the 1950s, wanted another shot. In late 1957 in Stellarton, another non-title bout, this time going Hayden's way. Through 10 exciting rounds, the men fought. Hayden bled from above both eyes for the last 8 rounds, but hung in there for a unanimous decision. He later said the fight was his toughest against Howard, for it was do or die, win or get out of boxing. A month later, they met for the 4th time in their careers in a 12-round title bout in Stellarton. This time, it was Howard's win by decision, as Hayden was cut under one eye and over the other. Hayden confessed later, quote, "I just didn't put out enough to win." They met one last time, with Howard winning by knockouts.
God only knows if he had to get by Dickie, he might have been one of the best in the world. But that was his stumbling block. He couldn't get by Dickie, right? But that's no disgrace to lose to Dickie Howard. Anybody that knows the fight game knows that. Yeah. But he was a beautiful fighter to look at, and outside the ring, I won't say just as beautiful, but just as nice a guy.
So by then, Jackie Hayden knew the end of boxing was near. He fought 5 more times, winning twice, and hung them up in 1960. Quote, with all the tough times in the sport, I think I didn't do too badly, as I boxed all my life with really one eye. My left one was always blurred. Hayden is a member of the Pictou County Sport Hall of Fame. He's lived and worked in the Los Angeles area for the last 37 years and served for a while on the California State Boxing Commission. He has an extensive film library of many notable Nova Scotia boxers in action all across North America, lending those to the Nova Scotia Sport Hall of Fame periodically. Jackie Hayden, a boxer with guts, determination, and a never-say-die attitude. A classy and courageous athlete who represented Nova Scotia with distinction, and our newest inductee to the Nova Scotia Sport Hall of Fame. To present the plaque, we'd like to ask Kevin Sanford, the promotions manager from the Chronicle Herald, to come forward, and to present the pin, a longtime referee and Hall of Famer who officiated at many of Jackie Hayden's bouts, Bob Beaton, if Bob is here. Bob is here, and he just turned 93. Attaboy, Bob! Just right to him. You already got it. You just got to give him the pin. I think so. Yeah. Bob's milking his time up here.
Good to see you.
Yeah.
Jackie just said Bob better leave. I'm going to bleed all over him.
I'm going to tell you something about this fella. I refereed many of his fights, and he was the nicest boxer I ever seen, and he was the cleanest fighter I ever seen, and I never in my life had to take a point from him.
There you go.
All right, Jackie.
Yes, Bruce.
Yeah, yes, indeed. I see you over here. Nights like these are always emotional, and when you hear about all those stats and all those fights and that great rivalry with Howard, what are the emotions going through your mind up here tonight?
Are you talking about me?
I think so. The good-looking guy, right?
Oh, I don't know.
Yeah.
Oh, no, Dickie was quite something else. When I was, I guess just started. No, Dickie had already been fighting for maybe 5 years, you know, and Dick was my hero. I never ever thought I'd be in a position to tangle with this gentleman at all. So I got lucky I come through it at all, huh?
Well, you came through it. You're looking great. Where did you come from tonight, by the way, to get here?
Oh, from California. We're living out in California now. I've been out there for about 35 years. And, oh, yeah, a little side story. I come back here to visit every now and again, and through a relative of mine, I was introduced to a gentleman that took in the fights quite often. He's a good fan of Dick Kid Howard's. But he came up to me and he said, gee, you know, he said, nice to meet you, Jack. I made a lot of money on you. Guess who he was betting on? Yeah, but at least somebody bet on me, okay?
A little bit of a backhanded compliment there. If you, yeah. Well, what's it like to come back? I saw you in the room across the hall. A lot of people wanted to come up and say hi and see you. It must be nice to get together with some old friends and acquaintances.
Oh, yes, definitely. Yeah, I'd like to thank my brother and his wife. I don't know where they are in here right now, and his 2 nephews came from Boston, especially for the trip, and my sister and family from New Glasgow, and other ones here in Halifax for showing up. It's really beautiful. I thought they were going to be the only ones for a while. Yeah. I didn't see much publicity.
Well, no, the room's looking good, and they all love you. Congratulations on a big night, Jackie. Jackie Hayden, ladies and gentlemen.